Charlie Kirk was killed. And the right and MAGA have been using this as an excuse to really crack down on free speech, which is ironic because they also claim that Charlie Kirk was a champion of free speech. I mean, there's a lot of hypocrisy there. But I did want to play a clip of Code Pink, the great Code Pink, interrupting a Trump cabinet dinner. Let's take a look at that, and then we'll look at Trump's response to that.
Trump is the Hitler of our time! Free DC! Free Palestine! Trump is the Hitler of our time! Free DC! Free Palestine! Trump is the Hitler of our time! Free DC! Free Palestine! Trump is the Hitler of our time! What do you want your legacy to be? Let's go. What do you want your legacy to be? He's terrorizing communities in DC.
Time to go.
He's terrorizing communities
Time to
all
go.
over the world.
Time to go.
Puerto Rico.
Let's go.
Free DC, free Palestine. Trump is the Hitler of our time.
Okay, so there's that. And then let's see how Trump responded to this.
And a woman, in many cases, women, you can see they're professional agitators. I had one the other night. I had 4 the other night, all in one group, total phonies. I started to scream when I got into a restaurant, oh, you know, something with Palestine. And I said, well, I'm doing a great job for peace in the Middle East. I should get lots of awards for that, right? With the Abraham Accords and everything else. But a woman just stood up and started screaming. And she got booed out of the place, too. The people, there were a lot of people in the restaurant. I went there to show how safe, and it was safe. I mean, the woman is just a mouthpiece. All she was a paid agitator. And you have a lot of them. And I've asked Pam to look into that in terms of RICO, bringing RICO cases against the criminal RICO, because they should be put in jail. What they're doing to this country is really subversive.
Subversive, yeah. So, what are your thoughts? And Noura, I'm also curious to hear yours, especially as a lawyer. You may be having to defend some of these people.
First, I'll just say that was a bar, right? Code Pink was dropping bars at the restaurant. But go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think the clip speaks for itself and has to be seen in the wider context of what is now, well, a much longer, but particularly 2-year campaign to not only delegitimize, but even to criminalize pro-Palestinian or anti-Israeli speech. And we heard Trump basically saying these people should be in jail. You know, his word is his cabinet's command. And we've already seen, you know, one university after the other capitulating to Trump's campaign. And I think what people need to recognize is that 2 things are going on. On the one hand, there is a concerted, systematic campaign to suppress and repress pro-Palestinian speech. But the people behind this, on the whole, also have a larger, more general agenda for whom Palestine is the weakest link, for whom Palestine is the battering ram that will open the door for them to be able to employ similar tactics against people who speak out or act on a whole number of other issues. We're seeing the exact same thing now in Britain with designating Palestine Action as a terrorist organization, putting it in the same category as ISIS because some of its activists threw paint on a fighter jet. Well, you know, if the British government gets away with this, you really think it's going to be limited to Palestine Action? You really think it's going to be limited to organizations that act on an agenda related to Palestine, and it's never going to be used against anyone else engaged in any other issue?
I couldn't agree more on this idea of not only is Gaza, for example, not only is Gaza a testing ground, but Gaza is also the way that we're all being primed for the danger that's meant for all of us. But there's less protest because it happens to be Palestinians who are suffering. And the desensitization, the dehumanization is literally priming audiences for an extreme amount of violence that I think is promised for everyone. You know, Mouin is pointing out that, and, you know, I've shared this elsewhere of thinking about the boomerang effect, but the expansion of police powers, what happens in a colonial geography is coming to the metropole, so that you cannot defeat fascism without combating genocide. And in this case, we've already seen, right? We've already seen the way that the state gets to act without accountability. I mean, these ICE agents have no badges. We don't know if they're actually individuals who are just, sick, picking up people, or they're actually representing the state and there's no way to hold them to account. Yesterday, another fishing vessel, Venezuelan fishing vessel, was, shot down with a missile, by the accusation of narco-terrorism. Haitian groups are going to be labeled a foreign terrorist organization in order to remove them. But these are all things that I think have been practiced and tried. And I don't know where we get into it or don't, but this vision of, that what I think that they have in store for Gaza, this idea of turning it into a free trade zone, right, is a vision that they have for the rest of the world, of basically fragmenting us from one another, fragmenting a universal international law order so that we have several different orders that people can choose and pick from and be a part of, right? That there are no actually values that unite us. The gutting of FEMA in the middle of flooding in Texas, for example, or the municipal funding expansion of the LAPD's, budget at the same time that the fire department is being, attenuated. So all these things that are preparing us for more and more police, less and less state and welfare services, and in a way where many of these people are just going to be replaced anyway. I said a lot, so I'll pause on my other points. You wanted to ask about criminal charges and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a really good point. And I've heard you say that before about how, whatever happens in Gaza will happen to the rest of the world. And also
Palestine is a guinea pig.
Right.
Any test that succeeds on the Palestinian guinea pig will be considered applicable and useful in any number of other situations.
Can I share two thoughts real quick?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, please.
Two thoughts real quick. And this is to do, I'm not going to defend anybody. I'm not like a practicing lawyer in the United States. Like, you asked me about torture, and I'm more of a professor and writer. But there are these RICO charges that Trump did mention. These are conspiracy charges, racketeering, influence, and conspiracy charges that have been, normally used against, mafia or gang activity, that are being weaponized against activists, and that we've already seen them against the activists. I think 79 activists were charged with RICO and trying to stop Cop City. Those charges were dropped last week. So that's a small victory. I don't know how long it will last. And then the last thing I wanted to say, and this is just on this Trump pressure on the universities. Yes, obviously it's very true. And, there's anticipatory obedience, but I just want to emphasize these universities were doing this work even when nobody was pressuring or threatening them. Under the Biden administration, they did this work willingly on their own. And that is a reflection of the nature of the university and the fact that their trustees are no longer just folks who are committed to, learn. They're venture capitalists, right? They're hedge fund managers. They're folks who are interested in their investments. And so they are making decisions for the university where even before they were threatened with anything, they were rolling out, right? They were arresting their students, inviting the police, terrorizing them, shuttering their Middle East studies and making it impossible for faculty, firing tenured faculty before Trump.
Right. And Nancy Pelosi also accused Code Pink of being paid by China.
China, yeah. I mean, higher education has become an industry, and protesting students are treated akin to striking workers.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, that's a great point. Anything that you want to say about, I don't know if you're interested in this, but the Charlie Kirk, the discourse around Charlie Kirk's death, which is really, a lot of people are offering their thoughts and prayers. And, he's someone who kind of notoriously, well, he said that public executions, there should be public executions for the death penalty, had no real empathy for Palestinians. And so it is kind of rich to watch people shed a tear for him when they're, I guess, okay with what's happening in Gaza.
I think I might say something a little bit controversial about this because, well, it's not about shedding a tear for him. One, I'm shocked that this kind of violence has taken this long to get to the United States. I thought it would happen much sooner because of the way that, we've just been fomenting and aiding and abetting and participating in the death traps in Gaza.